This committee has been doing the RMM for a couple of years, and we have noticed, we've been doing a networking session at the end of the day, which is really awesome because we get to meet everybody, but we've noticed the same questions kind of come up every single year. So this session is an attempt to answer those questions and give you an idea about what works in different types of settings. So I'm going to give you an introduction to my school, Parlando, as well as our resources in terms of our facilities, where we operate, studio size, that nature. What we offer in terms of our classes, and some specific details there, are room layouts that we use, semester logistics, and registration options and marketing tips that we have found to be really successful for us at Parlando. So to give you a brief introduction of our school, I had to put this picture up because the Dairy Center, which used to be the most ugly building in the entire world, I kid you not, it was like a white box, it was not great. Just got remodeled, and this is what the front of our building looks like now. It's wonderful. Anyway, so Parlando is a 501c3, so a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2007. It was a merger between an existing private studio that our executive director ran that had around 100 students at the time, and a nonprofit organization that he was also running on the side that was already founded, again, that offered both tuition assistance to students in the area to help them pay for music lessons, and also provided outreach into different communities in the Boulder area in terms of concerts and cross-generational programming. So today we have about 650 students. 370 of those are piano, about 90 are voice, and the rest are, around 190 are instrumentalists other than piano. We do have some adult students, a good portion, but most of our population are young kiddos. So ages 3 to 18 tend to be our mass population here at Parlando. We have 42 faculty members across all instruments, and 16 of those are piano teachers. So again, we're housed in this beautiful building now called the Dairy Center for the Arts. It's a building that used to be Old Dairy. It's now owned by the city of Boulder, and we have several different arts organizations that operate in this building. So we occupy the basement, but up top there's a small arts gallery. There are three like larger theaters where they can do productions, a ballet company, an orchestra, and some other small theater companies. So again, we have about 27 studios in the basement, all ranging in different sizes depending on what could fit, and also a small lobby area for families. All right, so I'm going to give you an idea of what we offer. So these are our options during the spring semester at Parlando. Now, keeping in mind that we are a larger school, I think that any of these can really be modified to any studio size across the country. So hopefully this will give you some ideas if you're looking to expand into some other classes. I'll talk mostly about the first four, but also our summer camps as well. So Pre-Kids and Keys is a 30-minute weekly class for 3 to 5-year-olds. Hopefully all of you were able to catch Elle Tyler's session in the last hour, and if you didn't, I'm going to volunteer her to answer any questions that you might have about this class, because she gives a really wonderful overview about what this class does. In a nutshell, though, the class is intended to provide younger students with likely their first musical experience, which focuses on singing, demonstrating a steady beat, and some basic piano fundamentals like finger numbers and general keyboard topography. Kids and Keys is a 45-minute weekly class for 5 to 7-year-olds. The class sizes ranges from 3 students to 6 students. It's usually closer to that 6 amount, but we never go over than 6. We found that that's best suited for our environment at Parlando. There are multiple levels of this class, so students can go from a level 1 Kids and Keys class to a level 3 before moving on to a different group or private lessons if they prefer. Just to give you an idea of the skill sets covered in this, level 1 class typically goes from complete beginners to reading some C position notes on the staff. And for those of you, I would imagine all of you, that are familiar with the method books, typically a class will make it through half of a method book in the class time. Sometimes it's a faster paced class. If students are reading faster, we will move that along, but that's pretty typical. We incorporate playing time every week, as well as basic musicianship like theory, pulse, beat, or whatever the specific goal is of that week. In every single class, students get experience performing for each other and as an ensemble on a regular basis. So our Kids and Keys Accelerated is basically the same thing as a Kids and Keys class. It also meets for 45 minutes weekly, but it's for our 8 to 10-year-olds. So those folks that are ready to move just a little bit faster, we use the same basic curriculum, but it doesn't take nearly as long to get through all of those core concepts. Piano Plus is a monthly group RMM class, so this is a little bit different. It's designed for our students who want kind of both approaches. They're looking for a social learning environment where they can have fun with their friends, but also individualized attention of private piano lessons. We spend the group class time working on ensembles together, performing for each other, and addressing practical skills of theory and keyboard technique through games and other creative outlets. This class meets for 60 minutes. Again, once a month, and we can have as many as 10 students in this class. Typically, I got a question earlier about how many students I program into that class, because you tend to not have everybody there every single week. Usually I put about 15 students in that class, and we typically have 10 that show up every single month. We choose to offer this at Parlando free of charge to all students who are enrolled in private piano lessons. We think it's really important for them to gain access to the RMM approach. It's imperative for every student. We've really found that this drastically increased their motivation towards their piano education, and actually increases the amount of time that they're willing to practice, because they're then accountable to their peers that they see every single month. So we found it incredibly helpful to our program to add in kind of both elements. So if you're someone who's been doing just private lessons, maybe this is a good entryway into the RMM world. Rock band is a little bit different. This tends to be a shorter session, so it usually doesn't go to an entire semester. It tends to be around 6 to 8 weeks. It is a weekly class that students come together for, so they see each other often, but they tend to work towards a goal. So for some of those classes, that might be, they have a talent show at school that they really want to play together for. They might be doing an open mic at a coffee shop. And we also have adult groups and some of our kid groups too that just have a set list that they want to learn together. So they're all interested in similar types of music, so they come together, they decide on the songs that they want to prep, and then we coach them for that. It's really, really fun to watch them. We have this group of middle schoolers that's been together for 4 or 5 years, and I would say that they're not spectacular individually on each one of their instruments, but when they get together and they play as a group, it's really wonderful to watch what happens, and they put together a great product. Broadway Juniors is it's on our voice side of things at Parlando. It's a weekly 60-minute class for grades kindergarten through 4th. Students work on singing ensembles together. They might do some acting as skill sets allow. Sometimes this class focuses on a specific show or just a theme like Disney. If they all want to learn the Lion King songs, we'll do that. We've also found that for some of our class, and this one in particular, if we do a theme for the class, we can keep those kids engaged a little bit more. So for example, a little while ago, all of our middle school students were going nuts, and younger actually, elementary school students were going nuts for Matilda, the musical. They all wanted to learn everything from Matilda, so we did a semester of Matilda. And they learned music of Matilda. So the students tend to stay together every single semester, but the theme might change and vary as their interests move to other topics. Pitch Perfect a cappella is another example of that. Our middle schoolers were going crazy for the Pitch Perfect movies that came out. I mean, nuts about all of those songs. So we're doing now an a cappella theme for Pitch Perfect that goes through the entire year, and they're picking some mashups from those movies that they're learning together and performing for each other. So theme classes are a great way to keep invigorating new ideas into the similar class structure that keeps moving through many semesters. So again, these kids stay together, their focus just changes depending on their interest level. So summer camps at Parlando function a little bit differently. They typically run for 1 to 2 weeks depending on the camp. And they're basically extensions of what we do throughout the year, but we make some tweaks just to kind of keep it new and exciting for the students during the summer. They all have a similar structure, where in the morning we spend time in ensembles, learning new skills and pieces and developing musicianship and technique. Again, we take the students' lead on this. If they really want to learn Star Wars, we'll do that. If they really want to learn Matilda, we'll do that. So we incorporate what is necessary into the camp to make it new and exciting for them. We do lunch at a park nearby. And then the afternoon, we do something, I'm going to put quotations around this, fun, where we might go to the pool and take them to the pool. We might do ultimate frisbee outside. We also might bring in a musical movie and give them popcorn so that they can kind of chill out for the afternoon. We've found that parents really appreciate how that structure works, that their students are learning in a somewhat focused environment in the morning, but they have some time to blow off steam in the afternoon, which is something that at least our population has really been looking forward to this summer. We do have a higher age limit on these camps though, just because of the nature of the focus level that's intended, that's necessary for that 3-hour session in the morning. So typically they start around age 7, but we do make exceptions depending on the student, if we already know them, or a sibling. If it's a family that we know really well, we will make exceptions. The only difference here is the violin and piano for little ones. That is a weekly class that meets just for an hour. It's for our 3 to 5-year-olds, and it gives them an introduction to both instruments so that they can then decide what they want to do in group classes in the future. So I'm going to give you some examples of our room layouts that we use. There are 3 different setups that we utilize on a regular basis. This is our large rehearsal room. It's a slightly larger space. You can see that it only has 1 piano in there and then a large space in the room for big movement group activities. So at the bottom here, we're playing musical Twister in one of the camps that we do over the summer. So it allows us to do both performances, ensembles, learning new concepts, and big movements in the same space. And then we just rotate students out as we need to on the piano. Or I might bring in like paper keyboards that some of them can be practicing on that while others are at the piano. So if you do not have a piano lab, it is not a problem. There are ways to make these types of classes work in any environment. The second set of room layouts here is our piano lab. So you can see we've got 6 weighted keyboards, full-size weighted keyboards in the middle that are all hooked up to a console. So they're all connected. You can do ensembles. You can, project one student onto all of them. So all of the capabilities that offers. We also have an acoustic piano because we find that a lot of times with the classes with the younger students, you need to get them away from the individual keyboards and focused on something else. So it allows us to do that. There's space for circle time and then a whiteboard and some storage in there for some instruments and games, writing utensils, things of that nature. So this is where our Kids and Keys class takes place. As you can see in the bottom, this is actually from a summer camp, summer Kids and Keys class that we did a couple years ago. And then we also have a number of just regular studios that I'm sure you all are operating with at home, where we might just have 1 piano in there. I teach a group of 10 Piano Plus students in the picture above, and we just rotate through the piano. I might put 4 of them up there as we're learning a scale or a 5-finger pattern or whatever it is, and we just rotate out as needed. So you can absolutely make any of these classes work in any environment. I don't think it's necessary to have a piano lab. It's great, but not necessary at all. So some basic logistics. I find that these are the questions that always get asked about, how long are your classes and what do you charge and all of those fun things. So for our fall and spring semester, our fall is 14 weeks for our group classes. It's actually a little bit longer for our private lessons, and 18 weeks for the spring semester. We do offer weekly and monthly options of RMM classes for students. One thing that's been big for us is this early bird registration. So right now we have a discount going on until the end of April for our summer lessons. So this gets folks in the door early. They feel good about it because they're getting a break on their tuition price, and it locks them in, so you know exactly what to expect. We've found that this really helps retention semester to semester, so good idea to continue here. All sessions conclude in a performance. Again, this might just be a class party. It doesn't necessarily have to be a performance where you're listening to one solo piece after another. So you can structure that however it works for your environment. We do not offer makeup lessons for our group classes. Our spring tuition, so in all of the tuition, and keep in mind this is Boulder, it's a pretty affluent area. I think that our tuition charges are probably a little bit higher than other areas in the country, so you might need to change this depending on where you're located. The first number here is for our early bird registration discount. The second number is for our full price tuition after that discount ends. And again, this is for an 18-week class. Okay, so it's not just 8 or 10 weeks, it's 18 weeks. Some classes do small sessions like the rock band that I mentioned. And then also we find after sports schedules shift a little bit, we can throw in a new session. So oftentimes after spring break, after the winter sports have ended, we'll start a new section of Kids and Keys to get those kids in the door and rolling into the summer months. Yeah. So our summer camps, most of them are week-long, some of them are 2. We do offer half and full day options. Our half day is from 9 to noon, and our full day is from 9 to 3. Now I will say, we choose that just because of our facility demands. We need to be using those spaces at 3 for other private lessons. If you have the ability to stretch that to 5, I think that would be really helpful for parents, because sometimes, if you've got a working parent, covering that 3 to 5 time period is a little bit challenging for some folks. We do offer an early bird registration discount again for our summer camps. And we also try to schedule multiple camps simultaneously, so it allows the community to kind of build and for students to get experience learning what other students are doing in their camp. And then they can perform for each other, and it kind of, the younger ones get to watch the older ones. It really helps build a community for us. And showcases conclude each camp, but again, that just might be an ice cream party or a popsicle party or something of that nature where they can invite their family and friends, and we might give a little bit of a demonstration as to what they learned, or they might perform if they're ready and willing to do that. And then the bottom 2 numbers, again, the first number is for our early bird registration discount, the second is for our full price tuition. So if you had questions on what we typically charge. Okay. I also have some enrollment and marketing ideas that I think have really worked for us. The first, I know it's going to sound silly, but accept credit cards. I can't tell you how many times parents, they've gone somewhere else because they can't, they really like the ease of being able to just swipe their card, and they get points and they feel better about it. So it's a pretty easy thing to add in to your enrollment process. There are some fees associated with this depending on what you use, if it's Square or a registration online program, but families really have appreciated the option, and it's made a big difference in whether or not they roll with us. Consider a registration site, especially if you're dealing with multiple sections of classes. It's getting somewhat kind of challenging to keep track of all of your rosters everywhere. There are systems out there that really help with this. We use a company called Active, but there are many options out there. It also saves you some administration time so that you don't necessarily have to talk to every single person every time they want to register for something new. It can spit out reports for you, so you always have current enrollments and contact list information. And the charge for this ranges, but again, we found it really helpful for our population, and families like being able to register at 2 o'clock in the morning on our website, and they don't have to necessarily remember to call between 9 and 5 and talk to a specific person. So if you have a larger program, that might be something to consider as well. Offer payment plans, and we do this as simple as bring in a bunch of predated checks and we'll lock them up and we'll cash them when it's ready. So if families are more comfortable with that, sometimes it's easier to tackle the bigger pool of money that they have to pay for lessons and classes. Consider a registration fee. So this might be for materials, it might be for piano upkeep, or even a way to offset credit card charges if you decide to go that route. We do a registration fee for every semester for all of our lessons and classes. We do offer a break for multiple kids if you're registering many folks for lessons and classes with us. And always send out a confirmation email with policies. I know this sounds silly, but specifically with how you want to handle your makeups. Even if you've talked to a student personally and told them all of the details of what you're going to be doing or what your policies and procedures are, they're not going to remember it. So making sure that they have a paper copy of that, and also safeguards you too. So if they come back and say, oh, well, I thought I could do this, you can say, well, no, if we refer back to this email. So we found this to be really, really important. So some marketing tips that have worked for us. Online presence is so important these days. A clean and professional website, I think, is really key. Even if you're just operating, a piano studio of 30 kids, so that's still large. But when families come into an area and they might be new, that's one of the first search engines that they look at. And if you have a clean and professional website, that's going to make a difference. You want to make sure that the information is easily accessible and really user-friendly. And you can spend as little as $50 to $70 a month on this, especially if you want to figure out how to do this yourself. Or you can pay someone to set it up for you, and then you just have a monthly update charge with them, which is pretty small. So companies like WordPress are really great options for both ends of the budget if you're looking to spend a lot or a little bit. So that's a good place to look. You might explore using a logo for all of your marketing materials just to keep things clean and simplified and so everybody knows what they're looking at. We use this, you can use it for your website, your Facebook page, flyers around town, your recital programs, even apparel. So it's another way to show your studio's personality to new families and adds a professional element. So at the bottom, you'll see our example of this is what we typically use on an everyday basis, but we also modify it to it's the middle of March and St. Patrick's Day. So this is what our website looks like right now with our logo. The other thing that we found really to be important is utilizing Facebook and Google reviews. You can get parents to do this online for you. And before we started doing this, if you Googled piano lessons in Boulder, we came up 10th or 12th on the list, even though we're one of the biggest schools in the area. Once we had families start doing the Google reviews online, we popped up to, we're always within the top 3. So it makes a big difference when people are Googling just basic piano lessons if they haven't heard about you specifically. You can do a contest with this as well and offer a small gift card for families that, a drawing for a small gift card for families that do complete this process for you. Encourage word of mouth marketing. This can be done, through a variety of ways, but you can do bring a friend to your lesson or your class week, or offer, again, a small gift card for referrals that they bring into your studio. Free shirts to students, which I know might sound silly, but we found this to be really, really effective. You do want to make sure that it is comfortable for them to wear, or else they're not going to put it on. But last summer we ran a contest where families could take a picture of them in their Parlando t-shirt and posted it on their own personal Facebook page, and then they got entered for a drawing for, again, a really small gift card prize. So that increases the word of mouth, and it's a pretty cheap way to enter a marketing campaign. And student-run videos, so especially if you have a teen class, and again, after you get permission from all of the parents, they get so excited to show off what they're doing. So even if it's just introing the camp, or maybe they play an ensemble together, have them create this at some point during the camp or the class. And then again, if you have permission, you can utilize it on your own Facebook page or website. And you will also find, I think, that they'll be so proud of it that they'll start putting it on their own personal social media sites, and that will really help get the word of mouth out too. So these are some things that have really worked for us, so hopefully you'll find at least one tip in there that might be useful for you. So in a small nutshell, that's our RMM program at Parlando.